Hi, I'm talking today with Dave Hinz, owner of Mastertech Auto Repair in Algonquin, Illinois. Hi, Dave. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Tony. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time. What we're doing here is I'm interviewing a bunch of our members to talk a little bit about the transition that we're going through in the industry and how our ASA members are giving back. And I reached out to all of our affiliates to see if they could recommend someone, and your name came up. So that's how we came to talk to each other. So I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me today.
Again, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no,
Awesome.
it's great. It's great. And let's dive right into it. First of all, tell me a little bit about yourself. How did you get into the industry, and when did you open Mastertech Auto Repair?
Well, basically, I was that kid growing up that, limited funds and everything else who loved dirt bikes and bicycles and stuff like that. And as they broke, I mean, you look at it broke or you found a way to fix it. So, you got your hands in there and started going. And, soon enough, it became my passion. And then the next thing I knew, I was in the industry, and then I decided I'd start my own place. And so in 2002, I started Mastertech Auto Repair in August, and never looked back since.
Well, that's great. And do you have just the one location?
At this time, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, you're thinking about expanding?
Yeah, never know, right? This day and age, it's different. Everything's changing.
It really is. And actually, I'm surprised at the number of ASA members I've interviewed that either have multiple locations or are thinking along those lines, because there's some opportunities out there for growth. And that's part of some of the changes I think we're looking at within the industry. Some of it's been a reaction to COVID. We'll talk a little bit about that down the road. And but it gives them an opportunity to grow that I think a lot of people hadn't considered before, and it seems to be working out pretty well for them. So good luck with that when you do it. So
Thank you.
yeah, that's great. What kind of customer base do you have? Are you in just a middle class area?
Yes, middle class. But I don't even call them customers really. I call them more like family.
Uh-huh.
We're blessed with the customers we have. I really feel that we're spoiled rotten over here. We're constantly getting goodies and stuff like that. I mean, it's great. I love to take care of people, so that's where it's at.
Oh, super, super. Well, one of the things I want to explore a little bit is some of the perceptions as to what you see as your biggest challenge in the business, and what you think some of the biggest challenges we have as an industry writ large. So let's start with your business. What keeps you up at night? What sort of things are you coping with these days?
There honestly, there's a few things keeping me. I'm constantly trying to evolve and change, and boy, no more than recently. I mean, the last few years, big amounts of change. The industry is changing in leaps and bounds, uh, and keeping the quality control, keeping trained people. I don't care if it's people up front. Obviously the tax big time. And right now I'm working on a succession plan for my son, and that is just being able to know that I hand that over with good procedures, keep the stress level down, and a clear path to how to keep yourself going in that forward direction. I mean, that is huge, and just kind of trying to keep that thought process going is just it can't be understated.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Well, and it sounds like you do have a succession plan. Your son does he work with you in the business now? I assume he does.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, he
that's
does.
great. And he's excited about eventually taking over, I assume.
He is. He is. I think he is excited about it. But this is what does keep me up at night, because I'm seeing it from one angle and saying, "Do you really understand what you're getting into?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I'll wait for that day to happen and I'll be ready." And it's like, oh, we both know where that's going, and I'm sure he'll do it, but that's one of the things that keeps me up at night. I want to see him succeed.
Yeah, that's great. How many techs do you employ? How big is your business?
Currently, we're at 4 techs and two oil change guys.
Oh, great. Okay, super. And a lot of shop owners, when I ask them that question as to what their challenges are, they say they're having their biggest fear is not being able to find the talent they need. How do you find technicians when you need them, or have you had any challenges in finding qualified technicians?
Obviously, our industry is plagued with a people lack of people.
Hmm.
And I think, last time I checked, the average age of a technician is 52 years of age.
Hmm.
So getting, younger guys going in this is critical. but we face so many problems. Getting quality people in here for the right price and being able to run the business and everything else. There's so many obstacles with that. We have manufacturing poaching people out of our industry. We have all kinds of things that affect who we have in our industry more now than ever.
Hmm. Well, and again, that's, you mentioned a challenge that a couple of the other shop owners I've interviewed have said. We're competing with virtually every other industry out there for the talent that we need. I mean, the level of sophistication and complexity for the products that we deal with, the average American car, requires a higher level of technician. And do you have a formal training program that you use with your technicians in the business?
Yes. So training has always been mandatory here. That's something that everyone understands from the day they're hired.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter if you're a service writer, to a full-fledged tech. I mean, training is obviously the number one thing here. The industry is changing in leaps and bounds, and how anyone can think they can just continue forward on stuff that they knew, even 2 years ago. There's just no way of doing that. You've really got to stay trained.
Are you using, during the COVID crisis, I know everything went virtual, we're all doing it. And have you taken advantage, or have your technicians taken advantage of the virtual training that's been offered out there?
Yes, we have. We follow a local trainer hardcore. They're doing a good job of putting together some virtual training. So the guys are into that. And that's ongoing all the time. So they are enjoying that. I don't think they like it as much as hands-on,
Mm-hmm.
but I think they do find it convenient, that they can do it at their time. And so we are taking advantage of every training we can get, because otherwise you're taking no training. So you're talking, 8-10 months of no training, which is, it can't be.
Well, it's funny, on the virtual side of the equation, again, everybody's doing it. We are, until we get through the COVID crisis, and we seem to be getting there. The vaccination process hopefully will bring things back to whatever the new normal is going to be. But in the meantime, a lot of them have echoed what you said. I think hands-on is never going to go away. The face-to-face stuff is definitely going to come back. And I think that the tactile learning, most technicians are tactile learners. They want to put their hands on stuff. But do you find the younger technicians that you have in the shop react better to the virtual stuff than maybe some of the older technicians do? Or is it kind of everybody sort of gets the same level of value out of it, with the limitations of not being live?
No, I think some of the younger guys are still okay with the virtual training.
Mm-hmm.
I think some of the older guys, I mean, they're kind of stuck, and they're kind of done with it, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But the younger guys, it's more their era, the more their speed, so they just adapt easier, I think, to it. I know my high school guys, they breeze to it like nothing, and they've got it through high school. I mean, they're still in high school, and they're having to ingest all of that on top of it. But when you ask them to do something, they take it pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and again, most of the folks I talk with say, going forward, even when we go back to live events, there's always going to be a virtual component, because it has it reaches areas that normally they don't reach, some of the more rural areas, the smaller shops that maybe can't afford to travel or close down to do the thing. And it gives you an opportunity, as you had just mentioned, to kind of spread it out over the course of a year, as opposed to cramming everything into 3 or 4 days. So it does have some value. But talking again about what you're doing for finding technicians, you're also involved with the Grow a Tech Scholarship, I believe, that ASA Illinois has started, right?
Yeah, I actually put that together here about 4 years ago. And it's from being part of my local college on the advisory board over there, and seeing some of the struggles that these kids go through. And, it's good to be part of their life. You get to see what they're doing and some of the hardships they have. And obviously tuition money's big. So I talked to a lot of my local parts houses, my tool guys, anybody who would get involved. I mean, I even got some insurance people involved. And so we got money together. And so up until COVID, we were averaging $8,000 a year that we would put on an event. We would put up a kind of career day at the college, where I'd have tool trucks come in, Hunter Engineering, Jasper, a bunch of different reps and people and stuff like that. And what it did is it gave the parents and the children a chance to come view our local college program. So they get to walk around, meet the instructors, see what's actually there at the local college. And we're able to give away money and awards. I mean, not awards, but prizes. So we did door prizes and stuff like that. And so we set this up for everyone to come and kind of see what we have to offer at our local college and let them know that, just how demanding this industry is. And there's all parts. So they got to see all different kinds of people, from tire salesmen to parts people to, hunter, selling equipment, and then they got to see the tech side from scopes and tooling and programming. And so they got to see a lot of different stuff that even if their child didn't turn out to want to be a tech, they could use their education for all different kind of things in that industry. So we tried to set it up for a good walk around. So the parents, the kids, everybody can have a view of it, get to have some actual FaceTime with all the vendors and stuff like that, talk to them, see what their daily life is like, what their future looks like, what they see for change and stuff like that. So we tried to make it as interactive as possible. And then we tried to make it fun. We made big, huge checks for the kids. So, I mean, last year, well, not last year because of COVID, but the year before that, we had one kid win $1,700 all by himself. So, I mean, it was a kind of a great deal. I mean, he was all excited, and our local programs, about $8,600. So, I mean, that paid a good chunk of his college tuition right there. And all he had to do is put together an essay for us and be involved and be part of it. And, it really kind of paid off. And I think it made some awareness, and it just goes to show you how great the people in this industry are. You have multiple parts houses, multiple two vendors, everybody's shoulder to shoulder, and everyone's getting along, laughing, having water and chips together and kind of just shooting the breeze and talking about what's great for the kids and how to help these kids and stuff like that. So it's really turned out. It started off here in my parking lot the first year. I didn't know how it was going to go, and the parking lot here at Mastertech. And I realized that year that this can't be, and it didn't make sense, because why aren't we showing off the auto program at our college? It's a perfect time to show that. So we took the time to set that up with our college. We got the dean over there to give us the whole parking lot so we can get all the tool trucks, vendors set up, that kind of stuff, and get one of the classes set up with tables and chairs for people to sit, so when we're giving away the money, everyone can be a part of that and see it and stuff like that, and give away the door prizes and stuff like that. So it's really kind of evolved. But there's things to learn with all that too. It's really hard to get kids engaged, so you got to learn how to try to motivate them, to get them involved, and because they don't see the value of it initially, and maybe mom and dad are paying for it, so they're not as motivated. So there's learning curves with everything, but it's really started to evolve and move on. But unfortunately, COVID's kind of taken us out at the knees this year and last year, but we hope to get that rolling here as soon as we can.
Yeah, COVID's changed everything. And I know a lot of the businesses that I talk to, especially on the mechanical side, have bounced back pretty nicely. Some of the collision shops are struggling a little bit still because people aren't driving as much as they used to. But on the mechanical side, those of us who are going back to work, the normal, some of the normal customer counts have come back. But getting back to the technicians themselves, or the school and the scholarship you had mentioned, I think it's great that you were able to show the breadth of opportunities that are available in the industry, because it is true that anyone with a technical background, there are lots of different paths you can go down when you're working in the automotive service industry. And some of them are, parts sales. I know a lot of the parts distribution folks I talk to love to get ex-technicians because they understand the product and they understand the customer. So there's lots of different ways you can go with a technical background. But it has to be useful to you as far as finding talent goes. Are you involved with the school in any way? Are you on the advisory council?
Yes, I'm on the advisory board for my local college, as well as I'm involved with some of my local high schools. So I do believe in getting involved, seeing what these kids are there, what they need, what their challenges are. You get to see some of the stuff that they're using now for training, and it's not books anymore. I mean, they got a new thing called Electude that really is, I spent just 5 minutes with it, and it was going over, the description of EGR and what great visuals, what great stuff there. So, I mean, there's some really powerful training stuff there that is really impressive when used. So excited to see that. And otherwise, I'd have no idea that even exists. Um, so, and I think that's something that could be somehow adapted going further for, you know, even technicians, because it's just it's so well presented. It's pretty impressive.
Well, I think the way we're delivering training is evolving as much as the information that we need to share as well. And I've heard about Electude before, and it's a shame that some of the schools don't have the resources that others do. But I'm glad to see that you're helping to put something back by getting involved. And again, you're at the college and the high school level, which is a bit unusual. How do you find the time when you're running a business?
It is rough, but it is a passion of mine. So
Uh-huh.
I do like to see these kids, you know, and that's the thing is all of us are just volunteers, right? I mean, we're
Yeah.
just volunteers. And that's what I try to tell the parents and kids, you know, to take advantage of, because we're there as shop owners. We're living, eating, and breathing the daily life of what it is right now. Don't be afraid to ask us stuff, because besides the training that they're getting at the college, here's a chance to really talk to somebody and get some real life, you know, what is it like? What should I be doing? And, you know, I mean, it's all we have to give is just our advice, and that's all we get out of it. So it's really good to give back, and, you know, and see some of these kids smile and get into it. One thing I like to do is I take some of my younger guys, and
Uh-huh.
I've actually brought them to the college, and we've actually done some factory scan tool training to show them what we're doing, you know, and I let them do it because they seem to react better with somebody closer to their age, and they get to see them doing it and think, wow, that could be me in just a year or two. And
Yeah.
they get to see that. And I think it really has spurred some on. So they share some emails, they talk back and forth a little bit. I mean, that kind of stuff is priceless.
It truly is. And do you have an internship program or an apprenticeship program in your business?
I do. I currently have a full internship from one local high school, but I
Mhm.
also have two 17-year-olds working for me part-time from another high school through the automotive program that I go to. And I'll tell you, a breath of fresh air. I feel like I have unicorns. These kids are great. I mean, their morals, their work ethics, how they watch on safety. I mean, and they're growing in leaps and bounds, not just technically, but you're seeing them mature at a rate that's just great. And the feedback that I've gotten back from the school has been, wow, this kid was really shy, you know, not saying much, and now he's trying to lead the others around him. So they're seeing it from the other side, which is great, because we're seeing these kids grow, and boy, it's just a breath of fresh air all over the place.
Yeah, that's great to hear. We often worry very much about, are we going to have the people we need going forward? And I've been encouraged by talking to some of the instructors and shop owners like yourself who have the internship programs. And even some of them are using some apprenticeship programs. And it's working very well for them. Getting involved, again, not only takes a lot of the pressure off when it comes to growing your own technicians, because we still have to do some of that. It's not just a question of technical expertise, that's important, but it's also, I think, a cultural fit within the shop. Is that what you find? Finding the right person is, needs to fit in with the business
Absolutely.
philosophy, really. Yeah.
We know that, you know, you could have the best tech in the world, but if he doesn't have the right attitude, the cancer throughout the shop can just destroy the whole shop.
Yeah.
So that right person, and that's what's so refreshing about these younger kids that I'm working with. I mean, they just seem to have, you know, some giddy up and go. They have some drive. So it's a really welcome addition. And talking with some of their parents too, because they were on the fence. I mean, you know, do I really want my child in the automotive industry? And then you have the conversation, well, what are they going to do for the next 30, 40 years
Hmm.
or more of their life? And so what industry is going to still be going, and what else can they branch off into? Because if let's face it, in today's world, if these kids can do computer diagnostics, networking, programming,
Hmm.
HVAC, electrical, I mean, plumbing, I mean, they have a lot of different avenues to possibly take throughout their career. And it really opens the door for them to have multiple spots throughout their life.
Well, and that is very true. And actually, it's one of those things I think that you don't really know how someone is going to develop until you get them into the actual business. But do you use mentors with your senior technicians to kind of work with the old ones? How does your internship program work?
So yes, we do, but I don't let them get stuck,
Mhm.
because otherwise I find out, I see that that now the mentor, instead of, because you still got to run a business, right? And if you keep the kid too long, he's asking too much, and then you find that your tech is going into way over their head. So you got to set a rule of thumb. You can only spend so much time, and then they've got to move on. But starting with the basics, I mean, obviously it's got to be safety. I mean,
Yeah,
safety is number one.
yeah,
And then, you get them involved in some of the stuff that they can really handle. And you ask them, I think it's really important to give them a voice. Ask them what they want out of this. Where do they want to go? You want to see that, you want to see them get what they want too, to help them thrive and keep interest, keep, involved in it and wanting to go. Because unfortunately, in some in this industry, they get stuck in a corner pushing a broom, and they burn out so fast. And down the street, Home Depot or Menards is offering $13 an hour. They're out of there. I mean, it's just, so I think it's really important to give them a voice. Let them have some kind of input of where they see themselves going or what they want. And I found it keeps them a lot more engaged.
well, it actually, and it also helps them develop more quickly. I think I know I've talked to a couple of shop owners who said just what you did. It's important to listen to what the young folks' goals are, and then help them achieve that, because that's how you keep and grow a good employee under any circumstances, technician or not. But I think that's one of the generational challenges I know that perhaps our generation has with the younger generation, is that they consider things that we don't even think about as very, very important. One of them, of course, is flexibility. They have a work-life balance that they want to maintain. And I know sometimes one of the downfalls of those in the baby boomer generation is we grew up with a work ethic that really dominates our lives. I think we live to work, and the younger technicians and the younger individuals that we have in the businesses at all levels, I think they live to work, or they live to work, and or they work to live. Actually, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And having that input is very, very important to them into the business, and I think we all learn from it, having those different perspectives.
Yeah, it's definitely great to be around and seeing some of these kids mature and grow. I mean, we've had a few of them now over the years, and to see where they're going, and they come back, and it's great because they come back to town, because even some of them leave and move on and do whatever, but they come back and they visit, and they share their stories, and it's just great to hear and see, right? I mean, it's part of it's part of why you do it. It's
Yeah,
great to see them mature and go.
yeah, yeah. It
As much
really
as you
is.
hate to see some of them go, it's still great to see them mature and go. It's great for them.
Yeah. Well, actually, it's all about the opportunity, I think, and every opportunity we can provide, that word gets out, and you get more of them. And again, I think your involvement at both at the high school and the college level, as I said earlier, gives you a leg up on identifying the best and the brightest and getting them into your business. So that involvement pays dividends beyond just giving back. It makes a lot of sense, and I'm glad to hear you're doing that. I often wonder how shop owners find the time to be as involved as they are. And you are involved deeply, I know, in ASA Illinois. You're the president this year, right?
Yes, some change. I've been a board member for a few years now, and you look at all the challenges that this industry has,
Hmm.
and you know, I wasn't quite sure what's going on, but I wanted to be part of the change. I wanted to be, the one thing that I've really decided to change about myself is getting involved. So that's why I've gotten so involved in, my college, my high schools, in programs such as ASA. I mean, I so believe in it now. I get it. I understand it. And for the shop owners that don't, participate or think, what has ASA done for me? I mean, number one, I think everyone forgets the most important thing is the legislation. I
Hmm.
mean,
Yeah.
everybody, I mean, I know me when I first started my shop, nothing else mattered outside my four walls. I mean, everything could have been crumbling around, but as long as I had everything going in my world, not realizing what's going on and how it will affect my four walls if I don't try to be involved and do something about it. And I think we can all complain, do this, do that. Or if some law passes tomorrow, say, oh, this is whatever. But, you know, if you're not involved, if you're not paying attention, you can complain all you want. At least you could say you try to do something if you're involved.
Yeah.
You can see it coming down the pipe. And I think that is one thing that's really changed for me, is being a, the president now is trying to look a little bit forward and looking what's coming at us, and you know, realize how important ASA is as an organization, because we are the voice of our industry, and people really need to let that sink in and understand what that means, because, you know, Mastertech of Algonquin, Illinois is just a flea on, but, you know, at ASA as an organization, we have a voice. We will be heard. They have to deal with us. I mean, you think back of the OBD2 connector.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, I'm dating myself a little bit, but these guys don't understand the pain of what it was and how many connectors you need and where the connector may be. And, you know, thank goodness we got one connector with power for our scan tool, and we can talk to all the modules. I mean, just that alone is so monumental that, you know, if you don't think about that kind of stuff, it's really incredible. If we don't band together, we don't get it. And when I hear about other organizations starting to take on things by themselves, like a single state, I get a little freaked out by that, because I want the federal position. I want it covered for all of us. I think that is just the biggest thing to take out of that, and how important this all really is.
Yeah. One of the most important things we do when we survey our members is to make sure that we're giving our members what they want us to deliver. Legislation is always at the top of the list, because as it is, many times those folks in Washington, D.C., with the best of intentions, simply don't understand our business. And it's really important that our members are involved, do have a voice, have a seat at the table. And that's something that I know our Washington representative, Bob Redding, does very well. But I have to give kudos to the membership out there, like yourself. We have been getting increased involvement whenever we have a call to action where some piece of legislation is coming up, and it's important to reach out to your senator or your local representative to let them know what you think about it and what they should be keeping in mind when they go to vote on these things. It makes a big difference. And it's always a numbers game. You know, the more numbers we have, more members we have, the louder our voice is. But by the same token, it's important. We think it's important that we are that voice at the table, because as Bob Redding likes to say, if you're not at the table, you're probably on the menu, and we definitely don't want that to happen. Mm-hmm. But kudos to you for your involvement. You know, that's very typical, I think, that I've found when interviewing ASA members. They are more involved, I think, than is probably average in the industry. You know, getting out there, I like to say, looking around outside the foxhole is really important from time to time, just so you keep a balance as to what's going on around you, as much as what's going on in the shop.
And then on a local note, I don't think you can stress this enough too. It's the connections that you make. Mm-hmm. You know, it's people you get to know. It's the board members and how, you know, you can empower them to make them more educated, and they get to take that back to their own business and apply that to what they've learned and stuff like that. So there is so much to take out of, you know, I mean, even our localized hot training, which we're really proud of, our hands-on technical training.
Yes.
I mean, that is a big deal. And that is such a benefit to our members. And we really look at keeping that really detail oriented to really give a great benefit to our members, because we've got we're so lucky. We got some of the best trainers here locally in Illinois. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're blessed that way, but we try to utilize that so that we can get, you know, small classes with these trainers, with our techs, that is priceless, really. And we put that together. So that is like one of the bigger benefits that we have, that is just so important in today's ever-changing world. We need that training desperately.
Oh, absolutely. And circling back to your comments about, you know, preparing your son to take over the business, that level of business management training I know that ASA offers was crucial back in the day for all of us when we were first getting into the business. And that same level of training is going to be required. Actually, more training is going to be required going forward. We have all the new tools we have and all the new capabilities we have due to technology on the front end as well as the back end of the business, I think makes that management training even as critical as the technical training that we have. And I think that relationship with an association is really one of the key things that we provide through, in our case, the Automotive Management Institute, AMI. But you're right. Training is a given these days, whether it's technical management, whatever. We're going to be learning throughout our career. You never stop learning. And I think that that's something that we just, accept as a given these days. Just like you have to have quality to get into the game, you really have to keep up with what's happening. But I have to ask, all that you're doing, what do you do for fun? How do you maintain a work-life balance with everything that you're involved with?
Well, I'm lucky enough that, obviously family is key, right? I mean, and for me, I'm real lucky. We just had our second grandchild, so we got that going. And, the kids are always, we try to keep, in touch with them as much as possible, even if it involves food all the time, whatever it takes to bribe or get them, right? So we try to keep that involvement going. And, I really like dogs. In fact, my dogs, when I started here, was probably the biggest role model here. I mean, people just loved him. But so that, and then I think the whole change for me, I think I was getting a little burnt out, to be honest with you. And, getting involved with ASA, starting to look at other aspects, helped me realize that, there's more to life. And now I'm starting to look at changing my role of the business, because, if my son's going to be taken over, I want to look at the business differently and get things set up and have a different role here than I've ever had before, and give myself a little bit of life. So I think that really allows me to do, the stuff that my passions are changing for. My passion used to be for the car itself, fixing it, finding out what's going on. Yeah. And now I find that that's changing a bit. And so I'm really kind of intrigued with the new kind of business that I'm kind of in, because it's not really just repair anymore. I mean, I was a tech that became a shop owner that now is really starting to understand what, after 20 years, I've started to realize what being a shop owner really is, and what it's going to take to succeed it and send it down and set them up the right way and move forward.
Well, as they say, it's a team effort, right? And the relationships that we form throughout our careers, especially those, again, through an association like ASA, it's not just giving you the feedback you need from your business peers. We all share the same problems. What I may find challenging, someone else may have found a solution for. And that exchange of ideas, that face-to-face networking, I think is our favorite word for it, really pays dividends beyond anything else. And I think hopefully we'll be able to get back to those live events sooner than later. I know this last year was a challenge for all of us, and we all had to learn to do things a little bit differently. But hopefully, as I said, we're coming out of that, and it sounds like you've got a lot of the pieces in place when it comes to preparing your people for whatever's next. And again, I'm glad to hear that you've found a work-life balance that avoids that burnout. That's one of the biggest problems I think we have as shop owners. Is there's a fair amount of burnout in our industry. And I think that those who have found a way to step back from the business and, realize that you have a life as well is really what's important. And again, that's a lesson I think we can take from the younger folks. As I said, we live to work, they work to live. And having that understanding that you need to sharpen the saw is one of the old, ways they used to say it, from time to time, and step back and take a look around, I think is really one of the keys to success. And it sounds like you've mastered that quite well.
It's a constant work in progress, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Dave, I don't want to keep you all day. This has been great. Any last words before I let you go?
No, I really appreciate you having me on today. I mean, this is definitely a passion of mine all over I mean, this is my craft. This is all I know. I don't have a plan B. So to reinvent the wheel and getting more involved, I really realize the importance of it. And, hopefully other shop owners who maybe feel like they were, in that position of burnout or whatever, and need to rethink where they're at and can find hope. I mean, there is hope out there. And one thing we know is change is inevitable, right? I mean, and it's happening at such a clip now that really, I don't know, if you don't get on the bandwagon of change, you may be forced to some change you don't want. And I mean, again, you could complain about everything, or you could try to do something about it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, as I say, the world is run by those who show up. So I know that ASA members are usually the ones that are in the room when things happen. And that is something that I think we can all be proud of. And hopefully we will continue to have the advantage of all that with the next generation coming forward. It sounds like you're preparing your son to enter that larger world. And I know a lot of shop owners out there are doing the same thing. So again, it was great talking with you today. I really appreciate the time. Thanks again. We have been talking with Dave Hinz, the owner of Mastertech Auto Repair in Algonquin, Illinois, and the president of our ASA Illinois affiliate. So Dave, again, thanks for all you do, and hopefully we'll talk again soon.
no, thank you. I appreciate it, Tony. Have a great one.
You too. Have a great day. Take care.
Take care.